hiring caregivers for non-medical home care agency. Hi, my name is Patricia. We're having a live online webinar coming soon on how to create or how to open your non-medical home care agency. We also have another one coming, and you'll see the videos about this, how to open your home-based travel agency. Plus, you'll get membership with that one with a host agency, a host travel agency. Now, I'm going to be posting different videos giving you some information about the things that we're going to be teaching in the webinar. Obviously, I'm not giving away my bigger secrets because those are going to be when you attend the webinar. But these are some things that we'll be teaching. So the first thing we're going to cover is hiring your caregivers, because this is very important. Your caregivers is really what makes your company. It's one of the things that really make up your company. If you have good caregivers, then other people will um, refer your agency. So if you don't have good caregivers, they will not refer your agency. So you want to make sure that your agencies are professional, well trained, and they know how to handle the elderly. Now, I've been in this business, oh my God, I've been in the healthcare business a long time. I mean, I can't remember the years. It's been like over 40 years. I've been in this a long time. So it's changed a lot, because before, the agencies would make sure that the caregivers were trained. But now it's like these caregivers is coming into the field. They're coming into the field just to make money, because it's easy to get into the field because there's such a caregiver shortage. I once hired this caregiver. I was actually a manager on a home health case, and I needed caregivers for that case. So I called an agency and I was hiring caregivers. They sent me out a caregiver who they told me was experienced, but I knew that she wasn't. So when I asked the caregiver, like, how much experience have you had? She said to me, well, none. I said, what do you mean none? Your agency told me you were highly qualified. She says, I'm a truck driver. And so my truck broke down. So I was trying to make some quick extra money to get my truck repaired. I said, well, wait a minute. When you were hired at the agency, did you tell them this? Because I'm trying to figure out, why did they just lie to me and tell me this girl was experienced? She said, well, no. She says, I told them, which was the truth, that I had taken care of my grandmother. So I said, is that the only experience you had hiring your grandmother? And she said, yes, that's the only experience she had. I have found this pattern kind of throughout home care, that some of the agencies were hiring people if you had no experience, but that you had care for a relative. So now when I open, because I don't think you're not really getting, that's not experience to me. So when I opened up my agency, I wouldn't even hire people if that's the only experience you had working with the relatives. I remember a girl coming to me saying she had worked for her aunt and she had worked for her grandmother and she had a lot of experience, and I immediately cut her off and told her I do not hire people who work for relatives, because to me that is not experience. So you can't so again, you want to hire people that has professional experience, not someone who's working with a relative. Now you might say, well, what is the difference if they knew how to transfer? I mean, if the patient needed transferring, if they say mother or grandmother or aunt or stranger, they were able to transfer them. No, because I can pretty much guarantee you that the way they were transferring their relatives, they hadn't gotten any training. And people who don't get training like that can hurt their back. If they hurt their back, what are they going to do? Come back and sue your agency, not the family, because they're not employed by the family, which we'll go over that. They're employed by, well, actually, it depends. They could be employed by you, or they could be an independent contractor who you're referring to the family. In that case, they work for themselves. So, but we'll go over all that, like I said. But anyway, so you want to make sure that people have professional training. Okay. Now, there is such a shortage in nursing till you might not be able to get all employees that have professional training. What do you do in that case? In that case, you need to offer some training for your caregivers. Maybe you can hire them. You could put them on like a 90-day probation while you're training them and see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to get to that part about the online training and things you can teach them about training, but you can choose to do that. There is a competency test that you can also give them when you hire them in, um, that you could actually see how much training they actually have. If they tell you they have training and then they really don't, you know what I mean? So we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, so so you might say, well, did I ever hire any people who didn't have any training? I'm trying to see. Yes, I did. And then I trained them. And what I did is that I only let them work on companion cases. Companion cases is when they're just basically going to be, they can't do any on touch the patient at all. They can't like bath them. They can assist and stand there while the patient get in the tub or something like that, but they cannot physically touch the patient at all. And so basically what they're doing there is company for the patient. And there is, you do get some cases like that. Okay, so they can do errands, like they could go grocery shopping for the patient and stuff like that. So that's where I would place my people that didn't have any experience on those type of companion cases, okay? And then as I'm training them, they're watching videos and stuff training, then I would try them out on a PCP case, which is a personal care provider, which you could do a little bit like, so those cases, if they were taking a shower, you could bath their back, something like that. But if they had to be transferred or anything like that, you definitely could not do any transferring. So that's how I would do that, to offer the training. And the training, obviously they're working for me, so they're getting free, and they would get some online training. Now, because I had my agency at my house, I couldn't do the training where they would come in the office and then you have somebody, an in-service director or in-service person, who would teach them how to transfer. So you didn't have, I couldn't offer that because, it was in my home. I didn't want the people coming to my house now. So therefore, they could not work in cases where there had to be some transferring unless they went and got their CNA certification. Some states, California, have home health aid training, but most places, don't have that, because in California you have to be licensed as a home health aide. In other states, they, really don't require that. Just the CNA has to be licensed. Okay, so if they wanted that, then they would have to, if they wanted the higher cases where they would get patients who they had to transfer, then they had to go and become a certified nurse assistant or a home health aide certified if the state offers it. But that would be something that my agency would not pay for. The caregiver would have to get that on their own. Okay. So, so then, I would hire them in. So now, how do you get the caregivers, professional or non-professional? Well, referrals is one thing. You can offer a referral program. I had a referral program in my agency that if you hired a caregiver, you would get $25 for a hire. I mean, if you referred a caregiver, you would get $25 in referral fee. That worked it so well till I had to end up decreasing the amount to $15 per caregiver because people were really, referring a lot of people. And so that was one thing. Now I did that for an awfully long time, and I didn't have to put ads in the paper or anything to hire outside people like that because the referral program worked so well. So then all the caregivers that worked for me, they knew it was like a little family. You know what I mean? I knew somebody who knew them well, and so they came with a good reference even if some of them were not most of them were very experienced, but some of them might not have been. It was very few that wasn't, maybe two that wasn't didn't have a lot of experience, but the most of them they had a lot of experience. So again, that really worked well because when you're putting ads on the paper, you don't really know who you get. You really don't. So I really felt comfortable with that referral program. Okay, so let me tell you also the referral program. How I would set mine up is that the caregiver had to be working for 60 to 90 days. Oh, so you could pick one. So I started off doing 60 days and then I changed it to 90 days. So they have to be working that long before you would pay out this referral money because you need to give it time to see how they pay. You can even do 30 days. You need to give it time to see how it work and if you're going to keep this employee or like that. You don't want to pay it out when they first refer the person like on next payday because you don't know how this person works and you might not keep the person. So you want to give yourself a little time, 30, 60, or 90 days. And then you will pay the referral fee for that person. And then you will put your guidelines. They have to um, you don't refer unless they're able to keep the job within that whatever that period is, 90 days, 60 days, you know what I mean? So you have to put that on, that would be one of your rules, or the other rule could be that they would not have received any disciplinary actions or written up at all from you within that time frame. If they're written up or any disciplinary action, they don't get the referral fee. Something of that nature that you would write up and put for what your rules are for referring a client to them. Okay, and then the other way of you could find caregivers is like, um, some people run ads in the paper. Some people put things on, what is that, Craigslist. I really felt very uncomfortable putting things on Craigslist because I felt like I'm hiring you to go into someone's home where you just have to trust people because they can steal the patient's credit card, money, or anything because the home is a relaxed environment. So anything they can just, you have to really learn to really trust people or know who you're hiring. So I never put a job on a what's the other one, Craigslist. So when I did have to hire, which was far and in between, because my referrals, like I said, was doing good, I would post it on like Indeed. I felt that the quality of people were better on Indeed. Oh, so let me go back here. When I first started my agency, I didn't want to work on or put an ad on Craigslist, but I didn't know where else to put it at the time. So I remember running an ad on Craigslist. And when I would meet the people because I had it in my home. So then I would meet the people at a restaurant, whoever I was interviewing. And that's the way I interviewed them. These quality of people, they just were not quality of people. I mean, they weren't good quality of people. Um, and so I never hired anybody off Craigslist. And then I think I eventually found out about Indeed. And then I ran an ad on Indeed. Now I could definitely tell the quality of people were different from Craigslist and from Indeed. And so the quality of people who came to me from Indeed, I like those quality of people. There's also some other places that you can go to post an ad, and I will reveal that in the webinar because that's a really really good place. And the thing about it is that it doesn't matter what city or state you live in, um, you can still hire people from this source. So that'll be revealed to you in the webinar. The next thing is when the people come. So let me back up a little to tell you this. Because again, I had it coming, my office was at my home. I had noticed before I had opened my agency that a few agencies that I had actually worked for myself, they um, they would meet you at a restaurant, and then at the restaurant they would do the interviews and everything. So I remember asking one of the agencies I went to. I said to her, "Do people have a problem, coming to the restaurant to meet you?" And she said, "Oh no, not at all." So that's the way they hired a couple of agencies. They would go on to the restaurant and hire. But nowadays they have, well, I don't want to say nowadays because this wasn't a long time ago. This was just like 2012. So, um, but anyway, now they have these offices where you can rent for like an hour or 4 hours or 3 hours, and you can rent those offices and do your interviewing. Now, if you don't have all the resources, because remember, when I opened my agency, I only had $250 to open my agency. So I really didn't have the money to be leasing an office for a couple of hours. Even if it was cheap, I still didn't have it because I'm working with $250. So if you have the extra money, you can rent those offices for a few hours and do your interviewing. If you do not have the money, then you need to go to a restaurant. The restaurants will give you no problem. You go to McDonald's, Burger King, or sit down restaurant. It doesn't matter. When you go in there and you're off, maybe you might have yourself a soda or a pop or something like that. You're gonna ask the caregiver, do they want something to drink? And then they'll order whatever. Those are write-offs. Those are tax write-off. If you want to even offer the caregiver some lunch, that's a write-off. So let me tell you a story. I was hiring this. I was interviewing this lady. We went to a nice sit-down restaurant, and I asked her, did she want something to drink? And she said yes. So I got her something and me something. But then I made the mistake to say, "Oh, do you want something to eat?" She says, "Oh, yes." And so she ordered quite a bit. She ordered quite a bit. Remember, I only got $250 here. She ordered quite a bit. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't have asked her, did she want any lunch? So I didn't order anything, but I let her order her lunch. Then she wanted dessert, so I let her order her dessert and everything. Then she wanted another drink, and I let her order that. But let me tell you, that taught me a lesson. I no longer ask people if they wanted to eat because remember, I only have $250 to start this entire business. So I did not ask anyone else if they wanted something to eat. I only asked if they want something to drink. If they wanted something to eat, then they needed to pay for it themselves. But I never ran into that again because I only asked them that they want something to eat. I think one guy asked me, "Oh, can I get something to eat?" And I said, "Well, yeah, if you pay for it, but I'm offering you a drink." Coffee, tea, whatever they pop or whatever. So you have to be careful too, because you will. Some people will say, "Oh no, I don't want anything," but some people will order everything off the menu. So you have to be careful, especially if you're dealing with a limited budget. So anyway, so you would go to the restaurant, ask them, do they want something to drink? And then you get that, and then you start asking the questions. So you need to have a list of questions. Now you can look it up on Google, like the questions that you should ask in an interview if you've never interviewed before. They do have some pretty good resources and where you can look it up. In the webinar, I can give you a few websites where you could go to look up some questions if you want, if you can't think of your own questions. But what you're looking for is to ask about their past history. You want to know what they've done before. You want to know the worst experience that they've had in home care with the patient and what was the solution that they came up with. You want to know one of the best solutions that they came up with. So you want to know what maybe something they did was another incident maybe they had in home care. And they came up with a solution. You want to know what that solution is, because what you want to see is how they react in um in a bad situation, or critical thinking. That's what you're trying to get at, how they're able to solve problems in a bad situation. So you want to ask about that. You really want to find out information like how other people view them, because how they view their self is different from how other people view them. That's just a fact. Like you might think you're a really nice person, but other people might think, oh, yeah, she's nice, but she's hard. So you want to also ask some questions like, what do you think your friends will say about you as a caregiver? What do you think? What do you think of yourself as a caregiver? But what do you think your friends say about you as a caregiver? So those are the type of questions you want to ask. And we'll go deeper in that in the webinar. And so when you have the list of questions and you're asking them questions, so then you want to, when you hire them, you haven't hired them yet, you ask this question and you're thinking, okay, so if they have experience. Now, let me tell you, you can either do one or two things. There is a test that you could give them if they're telling you one thing about their experience, but maybe you're feeling like, I don't know if this person, I don't believe this person had that much experience or something. You could give them the test, and then you have to decide how much on the test is passing, like it's 72 passing or 80% passing. But anyway, you would give them the test. It's a written test. You'll get one of the tests at the live online webinar. You'll get the test to give the caregiver. So you give them the test. Now, if they have no experience, you're definitely going to give them the test and just tell them to answer what they think is the best question, so you can see maybe how they would react still with no experience. Okay, if they've had a little experience, you're definitely going to give them the test. Now, let's say they're a CNA, which is a certified nurse assistant, and you know that not because they're telling you, but you have a copy of their certification, because you're going to get a copy of all their stuff when you hire them. Now, some agencies will still give that test to very experienced caregivers, and then some people will not. Now, I didn't give it to caregivers who had a lot of experience, because if they had a lot of experience, um, I got it in front of my face. I see the experience they had. So I didn't give that test. But you can. You could give the test to every caregiver that come into your place. It's a requirement. You could do that. So it's your agency. So you're going to set how you want to do it. But for me, I gave it to people who didn't have any experience, or people who had a little experience, or if they had a lot of experience and for some reason I doubted their ability to make good decisions, or even though they might have had a lot of experience, but maybe they were getting fired off too many jobs or something like that. And I'm trying to figure out what is the problem if they have experience and they're getting fired from a few jobs. I would give them the test. Because that test is going to show you exactly what they know how to do. So I would give them a test. But again, it's up to you how you give the test in your uh, agency. Now, the other thing is the fingerprinting. You got to do background check. Now, Phoenix, Arizona, they require fingerprinting. fingerprinting. But all places don't require fingerprinting, but you can still get it if you want to. So if you want to get it, but your state don't require it, that's okay too. Because it's good to have. I mean, if they're criminals of any way, it's going to come back with that fingerprinting. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, I've already told you about testing. The other thing is, even when the caregiver, let's say they've been working for you for a year or 6 months or 2 years, you still want to give ongoing training. Things are always changing in the healthcare is always changing, but you want to make sure that your caregivers are up to date on training. So you're going to always offer that type of in service. Again, there's online training that they could just watch the videos, take a little quiz at the end, and then they could get certified for that class. It might be like how to prevent falls, how to talk to a patient that has dementia, what are the signs of Alzheimer's, things like that. And so your caregivers need to stay up to date. So you really should have them so they can go on their own time. Like you could just log in. A lot of places have it where you could just log in to the website and go in and get some training. Most caregivers won't do it like that. So you have to set a time. Maybe from January to June is the time you would train your caregivers. And so you will have to send out a letter notifying each caregiver it's time for your yearly training or review or updating training. So please go to this website by such and such a date to take the class. That way they'll take it. Because if you just leave it open, usually they're not. They're gonna forget or something like that. So if you have this training from, let's say, January to June, so you might, if you sending out the notice in January, then you might tell them, like, give them a date sometime by like March the 1st. They have to have completed the training. So you've given them a lot of time, like 2 months you're giving them to go in and to the website and complete this training, something like that. Okay. All right, so this webinar we have not set the date yet, but it's going to either be in July or August. It's looking more towards August now, but it might be July. If you want to know more information or you want to sign up for the course, go to www.globalelite.academy and you can read more about the course and sign up for the course. If you need a payment plan for the course, please contact us at Patricia at executive abbreviation for marketing.com, and the phone number to the office is listed on the website. And then I want you to remember this course, we have reduced the price because of all the stuff going on with COVID-19 virus. Some people being out of work, some people not. But so the course is reduced, and honestly, all the stuff that you're going to learn, you're not going to find this course this cheap nowhere. So just go to the website, look at the price, and decide if this is something that you want to do, or something maybe you have been procrastinating in doing and you really want to get started. Home care is a very rewarding um, home-based job. Plus, it's rewarding. You're helping other people by taking care of them at the end of their life, because usually these are seniors that you're caring for. So you're taking care of them, and then you're also, profitable. My first case that I got, it was a living for this man, and after being paid the amount that was left for me, because they would just pay me and then I would pay the caregivers out of the one lump sum. So after I got through, and this was monthly, so let me tell you, this is monthly. So after I got through paying the caregivers, my agency made $1,800 off of that case every month. And that particular case went on for like 2 to 3 years, almost 3 years. So that was just one case that I made $1,800 off each month. So then the second case you bring in, you're gonna, then you earning from that. And then the third case, you know what I mean? So that money adds up. It is very easy to bring in $100,000 a year for home care, and you see some agencies doing $1 million a year. That's very easy to do because these cases, the money really adds up. If you have a couple, that you're taking care of, it'll be more than that because you're charging full rate for the first person, and then sometimes you give a discount. Well, usually you give a discount for the second person. So, but for the wife and the husband. So this really adds up, and it's a very profitable business. And we will go over how you charge the patient. We will go over that because some states charge more than others. Um, I had a agency also in Arizona. My agency in Arizona at the time brought in more than my agency in wait a minute, my agency in Arizona brought in more money than my agency in Colorado because they charged differently in Arizona. And I'll go over that when I do you'll definitely hear about that at the webinar, but I might do a video on that too to show you. Yeah, I think I will do a video on that to show you about the pricing structure and how each state charges different, but in some states really charge a lot. So now in Colorado, their structuring is the same as Arizona. So now for an agency in Arizona and Colorado, you're gonna definitely clean up. So I'm gonna go over that in the next video. All right, so thank you so much. Good luck, and I will see you at the live online webinar. The end.